I had the opportunity to search the archives at the museum, and I was just blown away with all the stuff that Rotary has brought to Port Alberni, brought to the world. There's tons of stuff that I would have never thought a small community would have. I mean, the opportunities that you guys have brought to Port Alberni, some of the donations that were necessary to run some of the events, just unreal. So I've got a couple different things. I've gone all the way back to 1937, so 80 years, right back to where we started here. So I'm just going to touch on some of the things that I learned coming from a person that's not part of Rotary. So when it was created in 1937, there was 24 charter members. That was up until 1970, I think it said, that it started to grow. And the more rapidly it grown, the more members came from everywhere. It wasn't until 1989 that Rotary actually introduced women. That was a shock to me, but I mean, it was also a boys' club. Lots of the stuff that I read, boys' club. I love it though. I mean, I'm glad that we introduced women. It gives us a peace of mind. These were the original 24 founding members. Lots of them have passed on. Some maybe still with us, you never know. But I was lucky to have that full list actually in our archives. If I'm missing anything, please don't hesitate to bring it to me afterwards. I'd love to add it into the slideshow. Anything to make it more noticeable. So another thing about Rotary before I switched the slide was polio and causes. Everything that I've learned through Rotary in general and Rotary International, I took from their website and from any other resource I possibly could. So when I touched on bases from Rotary, everyone kind of shares the same aspect. So I'm happy that I could learn a little bit more about what Rotary does as far as promoting peace around the world, not just in our own communities, when we fight diseases as such as polio, and there's actually quite a few other ones, malaria, and a couple other ones that we're working to eradicate, but the most one was polio. Lots of these are from third world countries where we're having issues, saving mothers and children from poor situations, educating economies, supporting education in children, everything that Rotary brings to the community just helps us grow. So this is my favorite slide. I actually took this one from the Rotary website, and believe it or not, they actually had me a progressive right up until every couple of years. But the most drastic change was from 1988 to 2012. There's actually very little polio in the world now. And I'm very happy to know that your continued support through this can actually eradicate it entirely. More of the Rotary programs generally, before I start talking about Rotary Port Alberni, the grants and scholarships and exchange services that you guys do, that's every Rotary club. It's not just Rotary International. Peace fellowships in the community courts, youth leadership awards, you see them everywhere. That's what makes me proud to know that I have Rotary in my community, is that even though they say it as a broad aspect of Rotary, that they're also in your communities. I mean, you can see it. I see bursaries through North Island College. I see ADSS band having donations. It's everywhere. I was happy to find that there was 4 questions that Rotary asks before they go all about any project. And I don't know if you guys still ask these questions, but I'm sure you do. They asked them way back when Rotary first started. They just worded them a little differently. I looked at some of the projects that you guys did and some of the projects that you did worldwide, and you all, it's evident that you asked all those questions. Does it make sense? Is it the truth? Is it fair to everybody, right? So a big donation that I saw, just because it's in 1941, that's a significant amount of money in 1941. These are the particular places that it went to. So back then there was a local school nurse that they donated money to, Boy Scouts, Red Cross, Overseas Tobacco Fund, like all the little donations and the big donations that brought communities together and helped other people when they were down. So a couple Rotary projects that I pulled from the archives and from other information. In 1946, Rotary actually required an island that was donated, and they donated it, in turn, donated it to Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts so that they used their camps there. They also did a 3-day carnival event that helped the West Coast, the building of the West Coast General Hospital, the old one. And they also made a significant amount of money towards the park that sits on River Road along the Somass River. That's another one that I actually found a full-blown article on. Very happy to know that it's still standing. So another big one that definitely affected me as I was growing up was the ADSS Breakfast Club. Lots of kids don't get the opportunity to eat properly in the mornings or in the afternoons, but they do if they have support from elsewhere sources. You guys support the Breakfast Club, and it was a big part of when I was growing up, and it was a big deal to students that were afraid to ask for help. And if it wasn't for you guys and it wasn't for other sources of donation to the Breakfast Club, lots of kids wouldn't be succeeding where they are today. The raffle that you guys hold every year at the Sound Festival, which you're just talking about, is giant. I buy a ticket every year. Haven't won yet. I'm getting there. But another one that I've also been at to attend is, I actually went to the pirate train that you guys had. I took one of my friend's nieces and nephew, and they had so much fun. Just the little things that you learn. It's like change the learning aspect into fun for kids. So this picture I managed to pull from the archives as well. This was after the completion of the River Road Park. Unfortunately, there was no names attached, but if you do recognize anybody, this was from 1953. They always carried that Rotary sign everywhere. So this is another good one. This is an attendance record that I found. We actually have Mr. Sawyer on there. We also have Mr. Colin Sursker on there as well. We got both of you guys. I mean, Mr. Burnaby. Yeah, and Mr. Burnaby. Sorry, thank you. I mean, 75%, that's a pretty good attendance record there. I also found another piece. This was when the Rotary Club donated $7,000 back in 1978 for the Rowan Arts Center. It got all the doors replaced, it got built new rooms, it made it more accessible to everybody. Mr. Sawyer and Mr. Surziker, you're also on the top of that list there. So I just have really quickly to touch on 80 donations for the 80 years. Yes, I'm missing a couple, but here are just a few that have touched, you know, Port Alberni, around the world. They couldn't have done it without donations. Another one I want to touch on really quickly right there is that Consexus Bridge and Walkway. I actually used to live on the other side of that bridge, and without anything being fixed with that bridge, we wouldn't be able to get over it. Another big one was the Weaver Park. Revitalizing uptown Port Alberni has been a big one for Port Alberni for a long time, and that park was substantial and it needed to be done. Another one, actually, one of my friends, was the North Island College bursary. She got one, as well as another friend of mine, and a couple of them got awarded with the bursary. they couldn't have done it without you guys. Another topic I want to touch on is the two clubs working together. When I was doing my research, I had flopped back and forth between both of them and trying to figure out, what you were a part of together. You guys work together a lot of the time, but there's a couple that I want to touch on, especially now that I realized that there was two of them. To begin with, I thought it was just one. But the Rotary Arts District, that's a big part uptown, and it's another part of revitalizing that side of town. If we didn't have, young artists getting their names out there, having, their paintings up, and it also brings light to that side of Coral Briny. It's never been a fantastic area, but we're getting there. So, with that, I'd like to say congratulations on 80 years.